Hi everybody, welcome to this lecture on SBM and SPSS related to washing. And I try to mix examples from practice and theory like you will do in your assignment. When you look at washing, there are several ways of how you can reduce the environmental impact of washing. For example, to extend the lifetime of the washing machine. How can it stay longer in the household and how can we prevent that it will be disposed? Another topic is how to decrease the temperature of the wash cycle. A lower temperature means less electricity consumption. We also could think about how can we increase the washing load. More wash in one wash load means less wash cycles. The next thing could be to decrease the use of detergent and to decrease the amount of wash cycles, the frequency we do with our clothes in a week or in a year. But first, you should look at this picture from the book we published before, Products That Last. What you see here is the product lifespan of products. And this time, in this case, we measured it between 2000 and 2005. What you see here clearly is that the lifespan of products is getting shorter and shorter. And that, of course, is a bad sign, because that means that we have to consume and produce more and more product. Only a few products last long. And this is a nice example of an advertisement from Miele, where it says, statistically, people change their partner before they change their Miele washing machine. A little bit ironic, but this is a good example of a product that lasts long. But of course, it also has its price tags. A Miele washing machine is much more expensive than a Welcome to this lecture on SBM and SPSS related to washing. And like usually, I will try to combine some examples from practice and theory like you will do in your own assignment. When you look at washing and the environmental impact, there are several ways of how can we reduce the environmental impact. First of all, to find ways how we can extend the lifetime of the product, a long lifetime. Another issue could be to decrease the temperature of the wash cycle. A lower temperature means less environmental Welcome to this lecture on SBM and SPSS related to washing. Welcome to this lecture on SBM and SPSS related to washing. And like usually, I would like to share with you some examples from practice and from theoretical papers. The same like you will do in your assignment. Thinking of washing and the environment, there are several ways of how we can reduce the environmental impact. For example, by extending the lifetime of a product. A long lifetime means less production of washing machines. To decrease the temperature, how can we convince consumers to wash, for example, on 30 degrees, because a lower temperature means less energy consumption and, of course, a lower environmental impact. How can we increase the wash load to decrease the amount of wash cycles, and likewise to decrease the use of detergent and to decrease our wash frequency of clothes. So what you see here is a picture from the book Products That Last, which we published about a decade ago. And what you see is the lifespan of products between 2000 and 2005. And what you can see here directly is that the lifespan, the time that the product is being owned by a user before it's being disposed, is getting shorter and shorter. And that's a bad sign because it means that we consume more and more products and the lifespan is getting shorter and shorter. And only a few products are doing the opposite. You see here, for example, a Miele washing machine. And in this advertisement, it says, statistically, people change their partner before they change their Miele washing machine. Ironically, but still a good example of like how products could last long. But of course, this also has its price tag. A Miele washing machine is much more expensive than, for example, a Sanusi. Other things which you can observe in your daily life is, for example, advertisements or awareness campaigns for people to wash on lower degrees. It says here, for example, on the left in an awareness campaign, If you wash on 30 degrees instead of 40 degrees, you could reduce your energy consumption of washing by 40%. That is a big gain. And likewise, detergent manufacturers communicating likewise in advertisement programs to wash on 30 degrees. Still, nevertheless, a lot of you, including me, might wash several times on 40 degrees. And here you see another example of how much energy is being consumed by the different types of washing programs. You see here, it says in Dutch kosten voor elektriciteit, which means the cost of electricity per wash cycle. And then you see here, for a 60 degrees program, you will consume 26 cents of electricity. Well, for a 30 degrees program, you only will use 8 cents. It means that you only use 1/3 of the amount of electricity for washing on 30 degrees compared to 60 degrees. So there are big gains to get there. Another challenge is always the repair and maintenance of washing machines. Once it goes down, it's rather expensive to get it repaired. You see here some examples. On the top, you see this rubber part, which is called the manchette. And if this part has to be replaced, it costs you around 95 to 110 euros. In the middle, you see this small part there on the right, which is taking care of the vibrations when you are fumble, when you're turning around all your clothes in the washing machine. If that has to be replaced, it can cost you up to 200 to 300 euros. That is a large amount of money. Imagine you have a washing machine of around 400 or 500 euros. You have been using it for a few years. And then to replace this part will cost you more than half of the machine. So most probably you will dispose the machine only because of one part who is not functioning. And that is a pity. The reason for this is twofold. On one hand, labor is expensive. So to repair anything will cost a lot of money. But the other fact is that washing machines are not designed for repair. So in order to replace such a part, a lot of activities have to be taken, and that takes a lot of time and costs a lot of money. So here, a quote from or part of one of the papers I will share with you. There's a huge difference in making the products and repairing the products. You can make products very cheaply in the majority of the cases with very low skilled labor forces. But if you want to repair this product, suddenly you need skilled labor force, which is not so cheap as it is for the virgin product. And this makes the circular economy not so interesting. So we had to find different ways to how to get around this. One of the ways was to begin with designing a product which will last. We as a company know how to build a product with around a couple of 1,000 cycles, but we also know how to build the product which lasts a couple of 10,000 cycles. And the price difference between these two models is not 10 times higher or bigger, it's much lower. So you see here two things, like machines have been designed to assemble, to produce fast in an easy way, but they have not been designed to repair in an easy way. And the other thing is, it is possible to make products that last long, and it doesn't have to be that crazy expensive. But for now, they're not being designed and produced like it. And then, of course, there is a kind of more emotional part. The good thing is of washing machines is that they became much more efficient over time. They use much less electricity and much less water than ever before. But on the other side, we started to wash more and more frequent. On average, a household is using the washing machine 5 times in a week. And that means there is a big rise in the volume of our dirty laundry. However, there's no evidence that we are getting more dirty in our daily life. So there is something that we want to wash our clothes faster, earlier than before. And one of those things is, for example, what you can read on the bottom here is it says 75% of respondents in one of the researches I will share with you agreed with the statement that clean laundry smells like the laundry products used in the wash. So a lot of people who think when something is clean, it smells clean. But of course, there are a lot of other kind of measurements to see if something is clean, etc. And then, of course, there is a cost price. Like I said in the beginning, a Miele washing machine is good for the environment because it lasts long. But also what you can see here, a Miele washing machine in this case has an energy class A. It means that it uses only 49 kilowatt hours for 100 wash cycles. Well, the other washing machine here, the Sanusi on the left, has an energy class F, which will use about 75 kilowatt hours per 100 cycles. Not double, but almost double of it. So from an environmental perspective, of course, the Miele would be much better. But you see also on the top the price tag. The Miele one is around 1,300 euros, but while the Indesit here you see is only 300 euros. So When consumers want to become more environmental sound with washing, they also need that financial opportunity or possibility to do so. And related to all these topics related to the environmental aspects of a washing machine, I want to share with you two business models who try to help the consumer to decrease the environmental impact. Both of them are in the Netherlands. One is Bundles, and the other one is Homey. First one is Bundles, and you see here their website, and they are renting out washing machines, tumble dryers, dishwashers, and coffee machines. The biggest business for them is the washing machine. In this case, you take a subscription with Bundles, and what you will get is a Miele washing machine. That machine which is for most people too expensive, but by paying the small amounts of money every month, people get access to this. Within 5 days, it will be installed in your home, and the subscription includes the installing, bringing it to your house, maintenance, repair, the use of it, the app, and also in the end, to take it away. You can stop after any month, but they ask you a moving fee of around 125 euros. Why? Of course, it's not really beneficial for the company, neither for the environment, if they will bring it all the way to your home and after a few months you stop using it and they have to take it away. So they try to stimulate you to take a subscription over a longer time. You pay here a monthly payment, which is existing of a fixed part, plus a part where you pay per amount of washes you make with the washing machine. So this is how you can choose on the website. There are different kinds of choices you can make in the business model here. So first of all, you can choose between a basic model and a more luxury model on the right. And then next to it, you can choose between a new or younger model or an older refurbished one. It means that the new or young ones are coming directly from the manufacturing. And after having been used for a few years by one consumer, he stops his subscription or wants to go for a different washing machine. Then the washing machine will go back to Bundles. They will refurbish it and then bring it into the subscription system again for next user. The second user will pay €2 per month less in order to make it for him or her attractive to use a refurbished washing machine. And this is how you can see how that part you pay is built up. Like set a fixed part for the type of washing machine and if it's old or new, and then you pay per amount of wash cycles. And what you see on the right here is the price per wash cycle is that the first 5 wash cycles in a month are more expensive. And the more wash cycles you make, the more cheaper it becomes per wash cycle. And there is an interesting thing in there for the environment. On one hand, it stimulates you becoming more environmental sound because you will try to put more wash in one wash cycle because you're paying per wash cycle. So the less wash cycles you make, the less you are paying, the better for the environment. On the other side, it looks like the more wash cycles you start to do, the much cheaper it becomes. So it also becomes attractive to do some more washing because the next ones are not so expensive anymore. So there's a kind of contradiction in here to stimulate people to become more environmental sound. And this is a little bit like the business model, like I just told you. In the traditional model on the top, you will see is there's a premium model, the best one, and then people buy it, and then it will be used and then disposed, recycled, or an economy model. People buy it, use it, and recycle. But on the bottom, you see is how Bundles would work or Homey. Start with a new machine, which we call in this case premium. It's being used for some time. Then it goes back to Bundles. They remanufacture it, clean it up, bring it again into the market as an economy model, a little bit more affordable. Again, after some years, it's being brought back to the Bundles, will be remanufactured again, and will be brought maybe into another market for an even lower price. And only thereafter it's being recycled. One of the challenges for Bundles and other companies is that remanufacturing. So let's say I have been using this washing machine for 4 years in my household. I stop using it because I'm moving to another country for work. It goes back to Bundles and you will be the second user. Of course, you don't like to get a dirty washing machine. You would like to have a washing machine which is at least clean and hygienic. And in most cases, then, for example, this rubber part, the manchette, has to be replaced. That's the part which gets smelly and worn out. But like I also told you in the start of this lecture, that's not so easy to replace it. And in this case for Bundles, this is a rather high cost post because they have to dismantle part of the washing machine, replace that part and assemble the washing machine again before it can go to a next user. And again, you see here, the washing machine never has been designed for repair, neither for remanufacturing. The second case is Homey. This has been initiated by Nancy Bokken. At the time, she was working here as a colleague with me at Industrial Design Engineering, where she started with a small experiment with free washing machines and to rent them out to people here in Delft. And they built in some electronics, and they hacked the washing machine, connected to the internet, and people could start using it by paying per use per wash cycle to Homey. So that means there was no fixed cost. You would just pay for the amount of wash cycles you would make. Homey is also renting out, it's a bigger company right now, you can watch on the website, and they're renting out also a range of electronic devices, but the washing machine is the biggest one. And in this case, it's not a Miele, but an AEG, also having a long lifetime and energy efficient. But bring it again within 3 days to your home. It includes again, bringing it, installing it, maintenance, repair, app, the use of it, and to take it away. In this case, you can stop after 6 months, and they ask you 75 euros collection cost in the first year. Again, to convince or to stimulate the consumer to use it for a longer time in their home before it has to be refurbished and to go to another user. In this case, they call their business model that you pay grown up through experiments. And for example, they've been playing a lot with the business model. In the beginning, they only asked the people to pay per use, so there was no fixed cost. And that means that if you would not use it a month, then you also would not pay to Homey. On the long run, that was not a sustainable business model for Homey, so they had to decide to go to a certain amount of fixed money, in this case what they call credits you have to pay per month, instead of only pay per use. Another thing was in the beginning that some of the machines got lost. When people would get bankrupt, for example, and the bank would come around and would take their ownership of all the things they had in the house, and then they would take away also, for example, the washing machine of Homey. And they also had to make more clear by putting big stickers on the washing machine that they are not owned by the consumer, but they are owned by Homey. What's interesting in the business model of Homey is that they really try to convince the consumer to become more environmental sound. Energy efficient programs are cheaper than less energy efficient programs. So it means that you're paying more money for using a high temperature wash cycle compared to a low temperature wash cycle. Even though you as a consumer are paying yourself the electricity, you get another incentive that if you go for a higher temperature wash cycle, you will pay more per wash cycle to Homey. You see it here, 30 degrees, 85 cents, and a 40 degrees will cost you €1. And the business model, like I said, you will get credits. So a larger household could go for a subscription of around €23, with which you can do, for example, 25 wash cycles on 30 degrees or less wash cycles on 40 degrees. So related to these two cases, what can we find in literature? And I will share these papers on Brightspace with you. For example, this is one of the papers by Nancy and her own team about the pay-per-use business model around Homey. And of course, their incentive was to understand like what positive environmental impact in terms of improving consumption patterns can be observed in a pay-per-use business model. So these were some of their early findings from them. And it means, as you can see here on the top graph, that you see people, that you see the first year and the second year, or the first and the second one, I don't know exactly, but that over time, especially the orange one, the high temperature wash cycles were going down in those households. And of course, the incentive is a lower cost, so people move to a lower wash temperature cycle, and as such also reducing the environmental impact. On the bottom right, you see another graph where you see the average numbers of lime recycles per month in such a household. Also, the number of wash cycles was reduced. On one hand, probably due that people were putting more wash in one wash load, but also maybe people were rethinking again, why am I doing my washing? And of course, the incentive again is there financially. Less wash cycles, less cost. A more recent paper from 2022 from Arnold Tucker is talking about circular business models of washing machines in the Netherlands. And they look at the different business models, but also after how a transition in energy production could change the environmental impact of washing. I shortly only highlight the part on the two free business models to show how they estimate the reduction in environmental impact between a normal business model and the pay-per-wash. I will skip these two, you can read them in more detail in the handout. But here is a nice comparison how they estimate the environmental reduction of two models. On the left, you see a traditional model where you buy and own a washing machine, and to the right, where you do the pay-per-wash. The washing machine will still have the same environmental impact in the sense that it has 70 kilograms of materials. But then the next thing you see cycles per year. In the case of a pay-per-wash, it's estimated that about 10% less wash cycles in a household will be made. And again, this is due to this financial incentive. Higher costs, so people reduce the amount of wash cycles. Also, the energy use per wash cycle is expected to be less, 68 compared to 84. Again, because people will go to a lower temperature. Lifespan is expected to become longer. Instead of 12.5 years, 15 years, due to the maintenance and the remanufacturing included into the service system. And then you see a big gain there in the detergent use. Both Bundles and Homey are offering washing machines which have those containers where you can put into your detergent in the washing machine. So automatically the dose will be done by the machine. And this reduces a lot of the amount of detergent in a washing machine. So you see here, overall, on the several things, an extended lifetime, less wash cycles, less electricity consumption, less detergent by going from a basic business model to a pay-per-wash business model. Here you see another paper from Nancy and Brian, who will be also one of our invited speakers in 2 weeks' time. This is about sustainable business models experimentation around, for example, the washing machine. One of the interesting things is that in the beginning, these kind of business models focusing on, for example, sustainable oriented customers. But over time, they also found out that a lot of other target groups were interested in such a kind of option. For example, those who are looking for an affordable option, somebody who cannot afford a AEG or a Miele at once, the 1,000 euros upfront cost, or those who are looking for flexibility, for example, expats, people who are coming to work here and live here for a few years only, or those people who are looking for different ways of ownership. Another paper is about this business model of remanufacturing and to bring it back into the market. There you see an interesting kind of quote here. It says, second, more consumers prefer leasing used machines than leasing new ones. And most of these consumers appear insensitive to price. This imbalance in demand for leasing new and used products would create a supply constraint in a repeated leasing system. If there is demand for leasing used machines, but supply is unavailable from lessee returns, then the manufacturer must find a solution to this problem. For example, providing new machines at the price of used ones, offering used machines only as available, offering trade-ins to collect used machines. So here you see the complexity. In principle, it looks really great, but we need the same amount of consumers for the premium market, the economy market, and the budget market. So in this case, when there are more people who want to have second, or let's say used washing machines, which are a little bit cheaper, the economy market, then we have a problem because we don't have enough premium users to pay that first higher price. Here another paper about designing circular business strategies. You see here on the left, from the company perspective point of view, the spare parts in the normal economy represent a different amount of earnings. In the circular economy, when we as a company own the products, the repair are a cost and we need to optimize the cost. So that's interesting, isn't it? Like traditionally, spare parts would be another part of the profit or income. And now suddenly when you have a business model where you do it pay per wash or when you just lease it, the repair is not anymore profit, but becomes a cost. So it is a real incentive to decrease in the devices that it will not break down. And to the right here, it says, this is the first, but probably what we are thinking now is that some appliances will be there and no one is using them. In the summer quarters, if you only have 5 washes in the summer month, that's for sure not profitable for us. So we have a minimum fee that includes a few washes. If you wash less, you need to pay a minimum fee. And this is exactly what happened with Homey. They started also with a pay per use where you only would exactly pay the amount of use. But like I said, and also like here, if you don't use that washing machine, then there's no income for the company. So we always have to find a balance between what's good for the environment, but we also have to make it sustainable business-wise for the companies themselves. So last but not least, these were all kind of examples built in the service or in the business model or both to create incentives for the end users or the provider to become more sustainable. Lastly, I want to share with you some examples of a collaboration project here at IDE of how we can design washing machines for this kind of service economy. One of the outcomes was this, to make a washing machine with a replaceable panel. So this way it could be refurbished easily, but also could get different kind of looks for the first user, the second user, and the third user. And since you only see the front of the washing machine, it always would look brand new, even though the interior would have been refurbished. Another example is here, easy repair and maintenance. Could we design and produce washing machines which are easy to dismantle so that you could replace a part easily? So in this case, you see a washing machine where in a few seconds you could take out or take away the housing and you could replace in much shorter time crucial parts of the device. Or would there be ways, for example, to replace parts easier? Like discussed earlier in this lecture, the rubber manchette is a rather challenge to replace it. Could we not build it in the door, for example, instead of in between the drum and the washing machine, in such a way that when it's broken, it could be replaced, maybe even by the consumer himself. So summarizing, we went through a range of options how to extend the lifetime of the washing machine, for example, by refurbishing it, to decrease the temperature, by awareness campaigns, but also financial incentives like in Homey, to increase the wash load. Since you pay per wash cycle, people are invited to put more wash in there and to reduce the amount of wash cycles. By building in those systems which decide themselves automatically how much detergent is used, we can reduce the detergent consumption dramatically. And last but not least, how can we reduce the wash frequency? That might be something more emotional and psychological, and which also has to be influenced. If you'd like to hear more about this topic, then I would advise you to listen to this podcast from Pakhuis de Sijger, where they do about a 1-hour interview with Nancy Bokken about sustainable business models in general, but also a big part of it is dedicated to her business case, Homey. Enjoy it and see you in the next lecture.